this video, we're going to talk about resource market cost minimization when you're choosing between two resources in order to maximize your profits. Now, you're not always going to necessarily know what the profits are going to be of a company, because you may or may not always know exactly what the selling price of the output, that is the marginal product of the labor, is. So in this particular case, what we're going to do is we're just going to talk about understanding this output or marginal product ratio to cost. So when you're trying to minimize cost between multiple resources, what you want to do is you want to look at the factor or resource value and ensure that the value of that resource is approximately equal to the next best option. And the goal here is to get the greatest marginal product, marginal resource cost ratio per dollar. And this is often called marginal resource substitution. You want to get the most output or benefit per dollar. So what we're going to do is kind of go through the decision-making process when you have two different resources. In this case, we're going to talk about labor, and then we're going to talk about capital. So capital is, of course, something other than physical, like a human labor. So maybe it's a machine or something like that. Okay, so let's begin. So to begin with, we want to look at the cost of each resource. The cost of labor is $20, it says. The price of labor is $20. The price of capital is $40. Determine the cost minimization or minimizing combination to produce 72 units of output and the respective total cost. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to consider what is the marginal product, and see, you've got everything listed here. So number of labor, total product of labor, and then the marginal product of labor. Okay, so again, marginal product is the change in the total product. So when you go from 1 to 2, the change between 12 and 22 units of output is 10. So that's the marginal product or the additional product due to the employment of an additional unit of labor. And that would be over here too. So we're split here. We've got two sides. On the left side, you're dealing with labor, and on the right side, you're dealing with capital. And of course, capital is with a K rather than a C, and that often confuses people. Okay, so let's begin. So let's first look at what is the marginal product of the first unit of labor. Well, it is 12. So we're going to say 12 divided by $20 equals 0.6. Okay, well, we don't know if we should employ that one first or capital, so let's go over to the capital side. So this time we've got $40 is the marginal resource cost, and the marginal product of capital is 22. So 22 divided by $40 equals 0.55. Well, the better ratio is to go with the first unit of labor first. So we could just write that here. We'll just write this as first. Okay, write this one over here. So the first unit of labor is the first thing, because we got a better ratio. 0.6 is better than 0.55. That is to say that you're getting more product per dollar. Okay, so the higher number would be better. Okay, now let's go on to the next one. So do we want to go with capital next, the first unit of capital, or the second unit of labor? Well, we don't know, once again. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to go 10 divided by $10 equals 0.5. Well, 0.55 is better than 0.5, so we would want to go with the first unit of capital next. So the second purchase that we're going to do, so we'll write second here, is going to be the first unit of capital. Now let's go on to the next unit. So do we want to go with another purchase of capital or a purchase of labor? Well, we don't know once again, so let's check. So 14 is the marginal product of capital divided by our marginal resource cost, which is 40, equals 0.35. Well, 0.5 is much better than 0.35. So our third purchase is going to be labor. So our third purchase is labor. So we'll write it in both spots. And we don't know what we want to do next. So what do we want to do next? Let's go ahead and take a look and see what would the 8 over $20. By the way, we have no idea if these are worth employing because we don't know what the marginal product is. Is it cars? Is it, peanuts, widgets? Who knows? We don't know. So this isn't telling us how many we should hire necessarily, although we are given a target of 72. Okay, so 72 is the target, so we don't know why, but that's what we've been told. Okay, so 8 over 20 equals 0.4. 0.4 is better than 0.35, so our fourth purchase is going to be the third unit of labor. So that's our fourth. Next we have, well, we don't know. Do we want to go with that second unit of capital or do we want to go with the next unit of labor? So we're going to have to do 6 divided by $20 gives us 0.3. Well, 0.3 is not as good. It's not as good as 0.35. So the fifth purchase should be the second unit of capital. That's our fifth purchase. So do we want to go with more capital? We don't know. So 10 divided by 40 equals 0.25. 0.3 is much better, so we're going to go with that. Our sixth purchase is going to be labor rather than capital. Oh, we could finish this up and then we can come back and see where we should stop buying. So for the seventh purchase, do we want to go with capital or labor? Well, we're going to have to see what's that fifth unit of labor look like. So 4 divided by $20 equals 0.2. 0.25 is better. So if we were to make a seventh purchase, we'd go there next. Well, we might as well stop here and see, well, where are we at? Well, the total output currently, if we didn't make that next purchase, let's say we stopped at that sixth purchase. If we stopped here, we now have 36 and 36, which makes 72. So we are going to want to purchase 4 units of labor and 2 units of capital. And that's going to be the most efficient way to produce 70 units. Of course, I can fill in the rest of these. 8 over 40 is going to be 0.2, and 4 over 40 equals 0.1. So if you were going to make more purchases, you would want to go with capital next, and then you'd be indifferent whether or not you bought capital or labor next because they're both at 0.2. And so once you made that purchase, either one of them, and then bought the other one as well, then you would last want to purchase the fifth unit of capital. But we're not going to go that far because what you're going to end up purchasing is 2 units of capital and 4 units of labor to get the most output per dollar. In this video, I'm going to be talking about profit maximization, given that we know what the price of the output is, so we can determine the marginal revenue product of a resource, and then looking at the marginal revenue product in relation to its marginal resource cost. So we've also been given for labor and for capital different amounts. So the amount or the price of each additional unit of labor is going to always be $20, and all of capital is going to be $30. And so, well, obviously capital is more expensive, but is it twice as productive? Is it 50% more productive? Is it 20% more productive? That's going to depend. If you can just clearly see that if labor is a certain amount of productivity, but then capital is 50% more productive, but it also costs 50% more, you're indifferent whether or not you have you hire labor or capital. But those ratios matter. So you always want to get the greatest ratio of marginal revenue product to marginal resource cost up to the point of getting where they're equal, because of course that's the rule. You never employ a resource where marginal revenue product is less than marginal resource cost. All right, so having said all that, let's get started. And normally, just by jumping in, it's a lot easier to understand this. So given that our price is $3, and we know that the marginal product of each unit of labor is given to us, marginal product is, of course, the change in the total product by employing an additional unit of labor. So if I increase the labor from, say, 0 to 1, the additional product I get, production or output, is 12. So the marginal product is 12. If I go from 1 to 2 units of labor, I'm going to increase total product from 12 to 22, which is an additional production of 10. So the marginal product is simply the additional production that you get from each subsequent additional unit of labor. All right, so we can do this real fast, and I'm just going to multiply marginal product times the price of the output. So 36, 30, 24, 18, and 12. Okay, so I just multiplied all those numbers, the marginal product numbers. That is the amount of additional output that each unit of labor can produce. And then I multiplied it times its selling price, which gives us the amount of additional revenue that we're getting. Same thing can be done over here. So 3 times 22 is 66. And this is, of course, for capital. 14 times 3 is 42. 10 times 3 is 30. 8 times 3 is 24. And 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, so that's all very easy. Now it gets a little bit more difficult, because we're going to look at the marginal revenue product and then divide it by the marginal resource cost. So in this case, we're going to start off looking at labor. If the marginal revenue product of labor is 36 for that first unit, then we divide it by 20, we get 1.8. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means that I'm getting $1.8 in revenue per unit of cost. That's not bad, right? That's good. So that's a resource worth employing. But we may not know what order, so it might be worth thinking about, what if we only needed to produce a few units? Maybe we don't want that if the other resource is more productive and we're getting a higher ratio. So let's go over here and look, and then we see what we should do first. 66 is the marginal revenue product for capital, first unit of capital, that is. The marginal resource cost, that is the cost of all labor, or in this case it's always the same, is $30. That gives us 2.2. Well, that means that I probably want to hire this first. The first thing that I want to do is buy a unit of capital. I don't want to buy this yet. Now, if I need another resource, maybe I'll go for that, but I don't know. Maybe I want to go with capital again. So let's actually take a look and see. So do I want to go, let's say I want to produce more. Do I want to go with labor or capital? And so you might compare this, when you think of labor, think of a farmhand worker versus a tractor, right? So in this case, the tractor is more productive cost, when you consider cost and output, than the worker. So 42 divided by 30 equals 1.4. This is always in dollars. So what does that mean? They're getting $1.4 for every dollar spent. That's not bad, but that's better. So what do I want to do? The second thing that I buy is going to be the first unit of labor. And that would be the order that I would go in. All right, what do I want to do next? Do I want to go with this, or do I want to go with labor again? Well, I don't know yet. We need to find out. So let's do our calculation here. So $30 is our marginal revenue product divided by $20 equals 1.5, meaning that I get $1.5 for every dollar spent. Well, here I get $1.4 in revenue for every dollar I spend, or every dollar of cost. So clearly, the third purchase that I want to make is the second unit of labor. What do I want to do next? Well, we don't know yet, so we need to go 24. We can't compare capital until we calculate the productivity of labor. So divide by $20. That's 1.2. That's better. $1.4 of return per dollar spent is much better. So we're going to make this our fourth purchase. So our fourth purchase is going to be the second unit of capital. Now what do we want to do? Well, let's see. $30 divided by, so $30 in marginal revenue product divided by $30 in marginal resource cost equals 1. That means for every dollar I spend, I get $1 back. Well, 1.2 is better than 1. So we're going to go with the fifth purchase. Fifth purchase is going to be the third unit of labor. What do I want to do next? Well, we got to compare. So we've got $18 divided by 20 equals 0.9. So that means that for every dollar I spend, I get 90 cents back. Ooh, I don't want to do that. So if I'm going to make another purchase, if I need to employ another resource, my sixth purchase is going to be here. I will employ this because that's the rule. You're going to employ until basically you have 1 over 1 equals 1, right? Now, in this particular case, you're just going to stop. You're not going to hire that fourth unit, but you will hire the third unit of labor because that's a positive, but you don't want to go negative, right? So the rule is you're always going to hire as long as you can keep these resource the marginal revenue product above the marginal resource cost, because the rule always has been that you want to employ a resource when the benefit or revenue is greater or equal to the cost. And in this case, you can see that the revenue is greater than the cost, right? So the revenue is here and the cost is here. But in this case, then the cost is actually $20, but the $18 is the revenue. So that's why you don't want to go below that 1 number. So we could go ahead and calculate the rest of these numbers just so that they're here. But what you're going to see is 24 over 30 equals 0.8. And you got over here 12 over 20 equals 0.6. And over here you're going to have 12 over 30, these are in dollars, equals 0.4. So you obviously don't want to employ any of these resources, because these resources, whoops, I should have done it over here. These resources, the cost exceeds the benefit, or the cost exceeds the revenues. But what you would do is employ these resources. Okay, and you would stop at 3 units. We could even put a highlighter in here. You would stop at the 3rd unit of capital in the 3rd unit of labor, and you would purchase them in this order, in the order that we described, to maximize your profits. Okay, so again, this is a revenue over cost ratio, and you want to get, the rule is always that you want to get as close to 1 as you can, but never less than 1. Okay, so you should never buy anything where these are less than 1, which is what you have there. Okay, and that concludes this tutorial.